everything that I'm going to be talking about, which are going to be very simple, very basic, very straight to the point, tips and strategies that actually work. But what I want to say is that everything that I'm going to be talking about are things that I actually do myself. I would never sit here and tell you to do X, Y, and Z without me doing those things myself. So I just want to make that clear. These are the things that I've done to help me better manage my money and build up a savings account. They've been effective for me. They've worked. So if you're interested in learning more, then just keep on watching. So the first thing that you ladies want to do is you want to invest in a calendar. Your calendar is going to be your best friend. And I know you guys are probably sitting there thinking like, Alexis, what are you talking about? How is a calendar going to help me with my money? Let me tell you how. Number one, a calendar is inexpensive, right? You can go to the dollar store, you can get a paper one. That's where I got mine from. It's not going to cost you much. So you spent the $1, you got this calendar. It is worth so much more than that. In that calendar, you are going to write down how much money you are bringing in, how much money you are earning, and how much money you are spending or pushing out. So by having this calendar, you're going to be able to keep track of what your previous past expenses were, and it's also going to give you some foresight because you're going to be able to see what your upcoming expenses are going to be. So in that calendar, what you want to do is when you get paid, whenever you're generating or earning some sort of income, you are going to write in the actual day, in the block with the calendar date, you're going to write in there how much you earned, what that amount was. You cannot solve a problem if you don't know that you have a problem. You cannot better manage your finances if you don't know what your numbers are. So you have to write in exactly how much you are earning and when you are generating that income. So that is crucial. And what better place, honestly, to keep and record this information and to keep track of this information. So get that calendar, and when you get paid, whenever you get that check, you're going to want to write that in on the day that you received or earned that income. So that is number one. Then, like I said, you are also going to want to keep track of and gain some foresight on what your expenses are or are going to be. So whenever you spend money, and it doesn't matter what you are spending the money on, if you are going out to eat, if you are getting gas, if you're doing groceries, if you're paying bills, you are going to write in that calendar how much you spent and on the day that you spent it. So now you have record of what your income is and what your outcome, right? What your expenses are. So you have a record of both. Now that enables you to do some math. Like I said, you can't better manage your finances if there are no numbers for you to manage. At the end of the week, you can do this every Monday, every Tuesday, every Friday, every Sunday. You are going to want to add up all of those numbers. And you want to make sure that you, number one, are not spending more than you are generating, okay? For obvious reasons. Another thing that I will say, something that really has significantly helped me, is I got a credit card. Now, if you're the kind of person that, maybe having a credit card is not something that you want to do right now, maybe something you're going to have to consider a little further, then go ahead and do that. But for those of you who already have credit cards, so the credit card that I have gives me 5% back on some purchases, 2% back on some purchases, and 1% back on some purchases. So obviously it depends on the purchase type, and most credit cards are like this. But the reason why you want to get a credit card is because if I'm going to be getting gas anyway, why would I use my debit card when I could be using my credit card, getting 2% back on that, and then at the end of the month, getting cash back that I could literally use to put into my savings account or pay a bill? So if you can get a credit card, I definitely would recommend doing that. Treat it as if it were a debit card. Honestly, that's the mentality that I have. I'm using it for essentials, and I'm using it for things that I would already be purchasing. I'm just putting my expenses on my credit card so that I can get that cash back. And then at the end of the month, it might be $20 or $10 or $5 depending on how much you spend, what your purchase type was, obviously. But point is, you'll be getting some cash back for purchases or things that you would have bought anyway. What I do is when I get paid, I then of course write everything in my calendar, what I'm spending, what I'm earning. So that's how I keep track of things. That gives me a record of what has happened in the past and also lets me know what I can expect in the future. Then what I do when I get paid is I use my paycheck to pay my credit card bill. So my credit card bill is not astronomical. It's not high because, like I said, I don't typically charge much on my credit card. I just use it for my phone bill, other bills that I have to pay, gas, food, that kind of a thing. So I'm very minimal with my credit card, using it to purchase things that I would be purchasing regardless of whether or not I had a credit card. So it's not like I'm maxing them out and then having to use my paycheck to pay that credit card bill. It's not like that at all whatsoever. So I just want to make that very clear. You're using a credit card in lieu of a debit card, but it's not like you're using it to finance purchases that you can't afford. I've had my credit card for close to 3 years now. I have never needed to pay any interest fees on my credit card. I'm always early with my payments because I pay my card every 2 weeks when I get paid. So I do that. And then with the remainder of my paycheck, what I do is I put it in my savings account. Like I said, I don't use my credit card for non-essential purchases. If I'm gonna purchase something that I want but don't need, I'm gonna use my debit card for that. But because I put the remainder of my money in my savings account, that means that before I actually swipe the card and make the purchase, I have to go in and transfer that money from saving to checking. So that forces me to reconsider my purchase. I have to take out my phone, actually make the transfer, and then actually see the number decrease. So that forces me to reconsider the purchase a little bit. And I'm not saying that I don't spend money on non-essential things, but when I buy things, it's because I need them. Or for skincare, honestly, I don't really mind spending money on that. Because when it comes to like hygiene and personal grooming and just taking care of yourself and feeling good, I think that's perfectly reasonable. Spending money on food that's going to make you feel good and make you feel healthy, that's perfectly reasonable. I'm not saying eat out every single day. I'm not saying buy several face washes if you already have face washes. I'm not saying buy clothes every weekend. I'm just saying once in a while, in terms of treating yourself and actually purchasing things that you need and that are beneficial for your health psychologically and physically, go ahead and do that. But just reconsider your purchases a little bit, even if it means just 10 seconds as you're moving that money from saving to checking. Even that would be enough. And there have been several times where I'm like, you know what, this really isn't worth it. I don't need these pair of jeans. I don't need these pair of sneakers. I kind of have already started to talk about this, but I'm just going to elaborate a little further. It really doesn't matter how much money you are making. It matters how much money you're saving. So it doesn't matter if you're making $10 an hour, $100 an hour, $50 an hour. If you are blowing your entire paycheck, your savings account is going to remain at baseline -0. So it doesn't matter how much you are making, it matters how much of that money you're saving. So I understand that people have lives, people have children, people have bills and expenses, and things need to be paid and taken care of. But really keep that in mind before you kind of make a non-essential purchase. So I'm just talking about like small, minor things that we can do to kind of cut back on our spending so that we can put more of that money in our own pockets and paying ourselves rather than taking our own hard-earned money and giving it to whatever other company or organization that you were going to spend that money on. Maybe thinking about, well, the phone that I have works. I don't really need the new iPhone right now. That's an unnecessary expense. That's money that I could be saving. Just changing your mentality and just kind of thinking about things in that mindset and in that way, that alone is enough for you to start saving, and you definitely will see those numbers go up. Especially now with the current situation, it's even more important that we try to keep as much of our money to ourselves because you really never know when you're going to need it. The thing that I find myself doing as well, and this will be the last point, is just thinking about how much money you make an hour and how much you are about to spend on an item. I think that's really powerful as well. And I told this to a friend of mine and she was like, wow, Alexis, if I thought like that, I wouldn't buy anything. And I'm like, well, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that'll force you to reconsider some of your purchases. Think about it this way. Let's just say you're making $10 an hour. I know that's below minimum wage in some states, but just for the sake of the video, and you are about to spend $5 on a coffee or a smoothie. Instead of thinking of it as, oh, well, I get $400 a week, so really what's $5? Think of it in terms of, well, I make $10 an hour, so I just worked for 30 minutes for this cup of coffee or for this smoothie. So basically, what I'm about to spend on this drink is worth 30 minutes of my life. Do you still want to make that purchase after kind of thinking about it in that way? So I think that's really powerful as well. That's something that I find myself doing and thinking about because it's like in the grand scheme of things, when you're thinking about your whole paycheck, it's like, oh, well, I make X amount of dollars, what's 5 or what's 10 or what's 100. But when you think about it in terms of how much you are making hourly, that perception can change very quickly. So that is pretty much it for this video. Definitely, if you have anything else that you want to add, comment down below. I hope that you are all doing well and staying safe during these times. And I will see you all in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe.